Welcome to the Magic of Positive Thinking, a podcast hosted by Norb Svanascini, founder of AmericanEagle.com, and content writer Al Edwards. Norb, happy summer. How's your summer going for you so far?
Fantastic. Just fantastic. It actually seems like summer, which is kind of nice.
It does. We've actually had a lot of nice weather.
Yeah, nice weather. Little rain here and there. Couple of little tornadoes to spice life.
Just a couple of just to mix things up a little bit.
Yeah, but it's good, you know.
We're actually fortunate to be doing this podcast because a tornado touched down about a mile away from here.
Less than a mile, actually. It was like about a couple of 100 yards. Yeah.
And to a tornado, a couple 100 yards is like a centimeter.
Oh yeah.
So we're happy to be back, everybody. This is lucky number 19 on our podcast. We have been cooking along here, and we have a special show for you today because Norb and I always come up with these crazy ideas through something we said or something we talk about. And the title of today's show is How to Be an Optimistic Person in 3 Easy Steps. So that is what we're going to focus on today. Norb, did you have a couple things you wanted to talk about?
No, basically, you know, everybody really knows what to do to stay positive from watching the videos. If you go to YouTube, if you go to the internet, you Google, you know, positive programs, including us, we all talk about staying positive and how your mind controls you and how you have to stay positive, how you overcome these negative feelings that we all have. But, you know, I haven't seen anything. I actually did a little research on this, and I'm sure there might be some, but nobody tells you how to be optimistic. And I think that that's probably more important than anything else. Now, Al and I haven't given much thought about this, and we were talking about it, and we came up with 3 simple things that you should do every day. And if you do these things, I think it's like an automatic refill of positiveness. And that's the one thing we're trying to achieve today is, it's easy. You get down and you say, well, think positive. But how do you keep that positive thing going? And we've come up with 3 little, very, very easy things to do. Very things. Now, the beginning of the day is very, very important. I was just looking at a Charlie Brown cartoon, and Charlie Brown gets up in the day and he says, "Oh, it's a wonderful day and I'm alive," you know, and that was the Charlie Brown theme. But I practice this, and I think that this is one of the things you have to do to start the day.
This is number 1.
This is number 1. You have to say, thank you, God, for this gift you're giving me today. It's a gift. That's why they call it the present. Okay, thank you. And you know, if you start doing this, I think you program yourself to start thinking positively, because you're giving thanks for having this gift that it's just really phenomenal, okay? You're getting all these 24 hours of just an incredible miracle that's going to surround you. Okay, that's number 1. The second one, and whoever heard our podcast about, going to Japan, you heard that, you know, you don't see any litter in Japan streets or any place. And my daughter and I were walking and we saw a little piece of paper and we both reached for that piece of paper. And I was thinking, that's the second. That's number 2, is pick up a little piece of paper. And, you know, do it once, and maybe you can do it even 2, 3 times. And when you do this, I guarantee you that you will feel better, because it's a positive thing to do. So you're basically like programming yourself to be positive. Even if you have a rough day and things are really, you know, not going the way you are, but you see a little piece of paper, you grab it, you throw it in the trash basket. I guarantee you that you're going to feel better. I guarantee you, because it's a positive thing to do. And obviously, as you're doing it, you become positive. Okay? That's number 2. And you can do that, 10 times a day if you're flexible enough and
and if you're in a polluted enough environment.
Yeah, I mean, it really is interesting, but it does really help. Crazy as it seems, I do it. I did it today. I actually picked up a little piece of paper and it felt good. I'm making the world a little better. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3 is one that we also talked about, and I think is very, very important. Just be nice to somebody. Say something nice to somebody. Even if you have to force yourself, you go to a grocery store, the checker's there, he or she has just this look that they're not happy, and just say something. Gee, did you notice what a beautiful day this is? Or, gee, I like that shirt you're wearing, or whatever. Force yourself to say something nice. You go home, and if you're married, tell your wife, God, I missed you today. Gee, it's nice to be home, instead of going in there and saying something like, did you wash the dishes today? Or, did you do the ironing? Just say something nice. And that's basically the 3 things. I think that if you do that, you will automatically become a positive person. You just won't be able to help to be positive.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and I'll tell you, I love these topics because on their surface, they seem extremely simple. And we want to go through each one a little bit in more detail, but there's something magical on a spiritual level, and I mean the human spirit, about your mind and your thinking and your outlook. There's something magical about these 3 incredibly simple things. So let's go back to the first one. Basically, what you're talking about is gratitude.
Yeah.
If you start the day with gratitude, and no matter what you happen to believe in or don't believe in, if you're just grateful and you express that, it changes the chemistry in your brain. Your entire outlook for that day changes.
Without a doubt.
Why do you think that is, Norb? Do you think it releases an actual different chemistry in your brain?
Well, when you drive a car, you put gas in it before you get going, and your brain, going again, that it's like a piece of soil. If you plant something positive at the beginning of the day, it's a lot easier to just keep going in that area instead of dwelling into the negative right away. You're gonna, you put the TV on right after you get up, you take a shower, or you listen to the radio, and you're gonna hear all the negativity combined in the next 30 minutes. You're gonna hear about everything negative.
How many people were killed?
You've already given thanks about having, to be alive today, to actually, you get this gift. And this is phenomenal. I mean, so it's a way to overcome this coming of negativity that comes towards you.
And when you really think about it, I heard someone talk about this one time. We get up, we get in the shower, we brush our teeth, we comb our hair, then we think about what we're going to wear, and does this shirt match these pants and these shoes, and are my shoes shined? And we prepare all this stuff, and then we go out and we lock the door so nobody steals all of our junk. We get in the car. We might even look at the tires to make sure the tires. But did we do anything to prepare our minds that day? And the answer for 99.9% of people is no. We have not.
Exactly.
And the mind is running everything.
The most important thing that you have is that mind. And, going back to the strangest secret, when he was traveling down the road and he sees this big construction. What was the...
The story is, we're talking about The Strangest Secret, which is the 1956 recording from Earl Nightingale that we've based this whole show on. He was driving down the road and he saw a farmer on an enormous combine or a tractor. And it was this tiny man on this giant machine. And this tiny man, compared to the size of the machine, was bouncing up and down and driving it. And he was in control of this thing. And Earl Nightingale made the point that that little man represents your mind, basically.
Exactly.
Because that machine would just go off and crash into a tree.
And we have a lot more power than that machine, and we have more ability to control more things with our mind than that machine. And that little man was controlling that big piece of machinery. And our job is to control what we do with our mind. So.
That's right. And the rest of that story goes, there's a joke associated with that. So there's a story of a pastor who is driving through the farmland and he sees a farmer on this beautiful machine, and he couldn't get over how beautiful the farmland was and all the crops and everything. So the farmer and the pastor finally kind of meet at the intersection of the road. And the pastor says to the farmer, and the farmer gets off the tractor and he wipes his brow and he says, pastor says, "My God, how God has blessed you with such a beautiful farm." And the pastor took off his hat and wiped his brow again. And he said, "Yes, he has, pastor, but you should have seen it when he had it all to himself."
Exactly.
And that's kind of that get off your butt and do something, right?
Right.
That's that whole thing.
Goya, yeah.
Goya. Famous Spanish painter, Goya, Goya, get off your
ankle.
And it's not Albuquerque.
Yeah, exactly.
So putting that mindset in the beginning of the day, again, it's almost inexplicable what it does, but it literally changes your entire outlook for the day.
Yeah. It's really, putting gasoline into the car, and you got to drive it. Now you got to drive it.
That's a great analogy, because if you don't have enough gas, you're eventually going to stop.
Absolutely.
It's going to run out of gas.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go into the second one now, which I thought was a really great one, and that's picking up a little piece of paper. Now, again, on the surface, it seems like a very simple little thing to do, just a nice little thing to do. There are a lot of people in the world, by the way, who will go buy a piece of paper or something in the street and think to themselves, "That's not my job.
Right.
Someone else has to do that." So there's something magical and spiritual about what it does to you. Even if you don't care about litter on the street, picking up that piece of paper will do something positive for you, to you. And I wonder what that is.
Going back to what's the alternative? If you find the world ugly because it's littered, by you picking up that piece of paper or that plastic bottle or the can, you're helping it, making it better. There's just no way, even, if there's thousands of pieces of paper all over, if you just pick one, or maybe two if you like, you feel, well, at least I'm not in that group. And, unluckily, to be in the positive group of humanity, it's not as common as being in the negative part of humanity.
Right.
So you're just being, positive. You're helping. You're not making the world worse or leaving it as bad.
Right. You're making it better.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think I think I keep talking the word spiritual. And I mean that in the human spirit. There is something magical about doing something for someone else that helps you. It's a great irony, because so many people are so self-focused that they think if they think about someone else, then it doesn't benefit them, but it actually does benefit you when you do something else for somebody else.
Yeah. That's one of the wonders of humanity is it's proven when you do something good, you feel good. You just feel good. It's the thing that I think we talked about this in another show. When do you know that you've done the right thing? You just feel good about it.
Right.
And just grabbing a piece of paper or whatever and throwing it, putting it in the garbage can, makes you feel good. You say, well, I've done something that's positive.
Right.
So it's a good thing.
I'll never forget this. I've told you about this before. There was an advertisement in the 60s in some magazine I saw, and it was talking about the Japanese mindset. It was a Japanese company, and it was a factory. It was a very clean, perfectly assembled factory and waxed floors. You could comb your hair in it and everything. And the CEO of the company, or the president of the company, in a suit, was walking through, and the still picture is of him bending over to pick up a piece of paper. And you just knew he was like an executive, and yet he was bending over to pick up the piece of paper. And it just spoke volumes to me about what that meant.
Yeah. First of all, he's human. And if you're human, I don't care if you're the richest guy in the world or the poorest, your feelings are the same.
Right.
So when you pick that piece of paper, you're doing the right thing. And to do the right thing is probably the key of maintaining your positive attitude. Just do the right thing,
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
It's really not that.
Well, that's the problem. We've talked about this before. There's no money in simplicity and doing the right thing.
Right.
The money is creating problems, having the experts to solve these problems, which are mostly in your mind. And thinking positively takes care of a lot of those things.
Let's go back to the watching the news when you get up in the morning, because so many people do that. And I don't care what show it is, local, national, what it is. What's on the news? How many people were killed? What political problems there are? What economic problems there are? What latest disease is on the rampage? Nothing positive. Very, very little. And when you think about it, you are feeding your brain that information.
Oh, yeah.
Before you leave for the day. Now, I got to tell you, I almost never listen to the news or watch TV because I don't want that in my brain.
No, and this is one of the reasons why you have to, the first thing you do is if you give thanks for this gift you're getting, it basically starts neutralizing that in a way, because, yeah, there's all these problems, but give me a time of recorded history where people haven't had these problems.
Right.
Problems are there because they're there. I mean, that's just part of nature also.
Right.
So don't think that, oh my God, look at all the problems we have. No. Just accept that there's always been problems. I mean, when you think about in the last century, you had World War I, you had World War II, you had the Korean War, you had the Vietnam War. Just in this country, forget about all the other wars that other countries had with the other.
Right.
I mean, God, those were incredible problems. And this is something that we survived it. We're still here. And, there's been, there's a ton of people that are predicting, how this climate change, how we're going to be all dead in 30 years. Well, you know what? If we're all dead in 30 years, we're dead in 30 years,
Right.
But the thing that you have to realize is that, throughout recorded history that we know, there's always been basically the same problems. In the U.S., we've had a luxury of not having, for example, the economic problem that a lot of the other parts of the world have. Mm-hmm. And today, that might be changing. It might be true. But there's always going to be problems, always. That's just part of life. But if you're an optimist about it, you just take it as a normal thing, like, taking a shower every day. Otherwise, you start smelling a little bit. So, no, I mean, really, it's
right.
just part of life, that's all.
And why don't we make that analogy of take a mental shower every day so your mind doesn't start smelling?
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We talked about that, hydrating your mind. Remember that?
That's right.
That was, I think, the first show we ever did. We talked about hydrating your mind.
So much of this stuff is so simple. And you're right, Norb. Human beings, by their own neuroses and the need to monetize everything, invent problems or focus on problems because there's no money in Boy Scout walks elderly woman across the street.
No.
In the newspaper business, they used to say, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's a human thing, it's a human thing. The other thing that I think is very important, and you could actually have this as an optional fourth thing to do, is just learn how to enjoy humor. And we're all really ridiculous figures worrying about stuff. We can't control really much of nothing.
Right.
And so I went to the internet and I recommend people to do this too. And actually, there's just a gold mine of like quotes and funny sayings and actually things about positive thinking and doing too also. I haven't seen any of those three things that we talked about today, so I'm very proud of that. I think that's the Norb and Al
original thought.
We should patent that, yeah. But I just got a bunch of quotes that I like to just read because some of them are funny and they're not all positive. That's the funny part, but it actually is humorous to think about what we think about as problems. The first one is in Charlie Brown. He said, sometimes you lie in bed at night and you don't have a single thing to worry about. That always worries me.
Right.
Which is funny.
So human, right?
As a human. There was an old comic that Al and I know, and it's a shame that young people today don't remember him or even know who he is. His name was W.C. Fields. And he says, at first you don't succeed. Try and try again. Then quit. No use being a damn fool about it. But, just the humor of it, and you feel better. You feel better. I just, just reading this, it makes me really feel good. Now, some people are happy with some just basic stuff. It doesn't have to be complicated. Here's a guy from the show The Office, Kevin Malone. He says, I just want to lie on the beach and eat hot dogs. That's all I ever want. Which
that sounds pretty good,
makes
actually.
Him happy. Here's another one by Mark Twain, and I love the Mark Twain, obviously. He says, never put off till tomorrow what you can do the day after tomorrow just as well.
The procrastinator's creed right there.
Exactly. Ernest Hemingway, I drink to make other people more interesting.
Oh, look at that one. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Here's one by Dolly Parton, which I really like. I am not offended by blunt jokes because I know I am not dumb. And I also know that I'm not a blonde. I love that one.
I love that.
This is one by Cindy Crawford. Even I don't wake up looking like Cindy Crawford.
I like
Which
that.
is interesting because it goes back to, getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
And just, she has to put a lot of makeup
Even
to look as good as Cindy
she's no
Crawford.
beauty when she rolls out of the rack.
Yeah, so it's here's one by a gal that I really don't know, but I give her credit for saying it. Rita Mae Brown. You've ever heard of her? No?
Was that Charlie's sister, Charlie Brown?
Probably, yeah. The statistics on sanity are that 1 of every 4 Americans is suffering from some form of mental illness. Think of your 3 best friends. If they're okay,
You're the
you.
one.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, that was a bonus number 4. That was amazing, Norb. So I want to go back to number 3 because we haven't talked too much. Thank you for that. That was terrific. Feel free to write those down, friends, and put them on your refrigerator, right? Tape those up and put it on there. I want to talk about number 3, and that is just being kind to someone, saying something that would lift the spirits of another person. I don't know what it is about human beings, most human beings, but they just seem to not be able to do that, or they choose not to do it. Really, is probably what it is more. But this whole idea of, I said this last show, the bar to try and make someone feel good by saying a genuine compliment, the bar is so low today. You could just say about anything nice and it would make someone's day.
Absolutely.
And just being sincere and appreciating people, it almost makes you strange because nobody does it.
Well, the other thing too is that by doing that, you're also realizing that there's a lot of nice things you can talk about, because why should you tell somebody that, that's a nice looking shirt or gee, that's a nice watch you have, or whatever. It makes you feel good that you're able to recognize nice things.
It raises the positivity
it's like
in
picking up that little piece of paper,
right.
It raises that positive level
in your
life.
own mind,
Exactly.
Even though you're talking about someone else.
Exactly.
Now, for the record, friends, I'd like to point out that Norb has never said I have a nice shirt or a nice watch, but I'm still working on that. And it's only because I don't have either of those that he doesn't say it, right, Norb?
But I'm actually waiting for the day. Yeah.
One can hope, only hope, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, friends, I guess all we're saying is these things are simple to think about. They're simple to do. And again, we can't claim to explain why it is, but it seems to raise your own positive vibrations in your own mind, in your own life, if you do these things for other people. If you're grateful, if you pick up a little piece of paper or make the world a little better in one tiny bit, and then you show genuine appreciation for other people. Not only does it help them, but it helps you, and it's truly a win-win. Did you have one other thing, Norb, you wanted to talk about?
Going back to another quote, which I think any lady or any guy that's listening to this will enjoy, which I really liked. This was by Albert Einstein. Women marry men hoping they will change. Men marry women hoping they will not. So each is inevitably disappointed.
Wow. That's heavy.
But if you accept that, also it's a positive thing. Because
that's very true. Because it's reality.
Albert Einstein, you're learning something and you laugh. So that's part of humor is very important, ladies and gentlemen.
It sure
very
is.
important.
Well, we always end the show now with two things. One of them is what Norb said, I don't know, 4 or 5 shows ago. He said, why not be an optimist? Because what is the alternative? The alternative is to be miserable.
Exactly.
And we follow that up with a quote from Mark Twain, where he said, I would rather be an optimist and sometimes wrong than a pessimist who's right all of the time.
Amen.
You can't get any better than that.
No, you can't.
We're going to do a show soon all about Mark Twain, friends. So stay tuned for that one. So, Norb, always a pleasure. Thank you,
Same
my
here.
wonderful friend.
Okay.
The time sure goes by fast. And friends, we hope you enjoyed the show, and let us know what you think. And we will see you next time. For Norb Svanascini, this is Al Edwards, and bye-bye for now.
Bye now.